didn't get to meet Rhett until later on in the day because he wasn't in the van with Marcy and the other kids when I got picked up from the airport. But I was able to see him later on, but he was a busy guy throughout my whole visit. He had 2 play practices, one for church, one for school, and he had to go to school very early in the morning, he and McKenna. And usually I would stay at the house while Marcy took them, and I'd be alone with Mikkel and Landon for about an hour, and they really ran amok, doing things probably their mother would not approve of, but Auntie Krista didn't know any better. Well, one of the first things Rhett had me do was watch a movie called We Lost Our Voice. Very interesting movie that, well, the kids get the house and the parents have to come back on alternate weeks. Interesting concept. That first night I remember regaling everybody at dinner time with stories about Eric. Dad stories for them, Eric stories for me, but I was able to give them another perspective they hadn't seen before. I often found Rhett working on his Lego blocks, and he has quite a number of Lego blocks and interesting contraptions, and he showed me how they all worked, and many of them are connected to Star Wars. Here's a few pictures. I think you'll enjoy them. One of the really rewarding things I was able to help Rhett with was an assignment he had for school, and he had to find the date of independence for all of the countries in South America. Well, when he told me about it, I remembered one thing right off the bat, and I checked it out, and I thought this is going to work. So I sat him down, and he did a Google search for the CIA World Fact Book, and that brought up the front page of that, and I says, okay, what country do you want to start with? And he said, okay, Brazil. And so using the drop-down menu, he put in Brazil, selected Brazil, and then I said, okay, now push Control F, which allows you to search on an internet site, and put in independence, and it brought up 3 instances, and when he clicked on the second one, it brought up the exact date he needed, and he was a pretty pleased guy. I said, well, can you do the rest? And he says, absolutely. It took him about 10 minutes, and he found out later that his friend took 2.5 hours on it, and his friend was just aghast that Rhett had dispatched it in such a quick time. That was really nice to be able to help him. Here's a picture of Rhett that I snapped right after they got home from church on Sunday, and I got another, and Landon was willing to pose next to him, and these 2 brothers are pretty darn good friends. And they share a bedroom, and they get along well. It was nice to see that. One of Rhett's duties at home is to mow the yard, and it looked pretty bad when I got there, but he got the mower out and had some difficulty and needed some help from Dad, but things worked out. They got it working, and he did a very nice job on the yard. I was able to go to one of Rhett's karate practices while I was there. Marcy dropped me off, and there was a waiting area there where you could also view what was going on. It was separated by some windows, and unfortunately the glare from the windows made it very difficult for me to see anything at all. It was making kind of a mirror of the room, so I had to keep shifting around so I could at least see what he was doing. He seemed to be one of the taller ones, and whenever the karate master wanted to really demonstrate a technique, he seemed to have Rhett do it. And Rhett was matched with him physically, and Rhett always seemed to demonstrate it perfectly. His master seemed very pleased with how Rhett performed all these actions, and Rhett seemed to enjoy himself out there, and his moves were so smooth and disciplined. He looked like a natural athlete. It was pretty impressive to watch. But unfortunately, flash photography wasn't allowed, and I wasn't able to take any pictures at all. And I didn't even get him in his karate getup because he had to get dressed for something else. I think it was his play practice, so he had to get out of his karate uniform and head into that. So no pictures, but a lot of good memories. Rhett had another project he needed help with. It was a report on juvenile delinquency, but it was between the years 1800 and 1850. We took a trip back to the library, and we looked at the databases, the 4-fee premium databases that San Jose purchases for its citizens, and we looked up a list of databases, and especially down to the student resources, and found him a number of things that he could use. Most citizens everywhere have access to free resources they know nothing about, so go to your library and check it out. This is Rhett on his bike. We were all at Landon's game, and Rhett was just getting ready to head off to play practice at the church, and McKenna joined him on the bike, and they were supposed to just pedal over there together while we stayed at Landon's game. Rhett had a particularly busy day while I was there. He had to go to play practice, and then he had to go to a temple trip, and I think he got home at around 10:30 and had to get up for school the next day. That was pretty demanding. He apologized to me for only having been able to spend an hour with me, and that really touched my heart because most 13, 14-year-old boys are not going to sweat anything about not spending time with an elderly aunt, but I appreciated his thoughtfulness and his consideration. I was able to catch Rhett at a very rare leisure moment, but just sitting down, enjoying a snack. We were able to go to a party over at Karen and Mark's, and Rhett was able to go. We were able to work it out with his busy schedule, and we picked him up from his play practice. Then we headed over to Karen and Mark's. We had a wonderful time, and this is a picture of he and Mikkel on the couch as they were enjoying each other in the environment. And Eric had arrived separately, so he had his motorcycle and Marcy had the van, and Rhett wanted to go home on the motorcycle with Eric, and he said that he'd race us home, and so we tried to get home as fast as we could, but Rhett and Eric took quite a while. This is a picture of Rhett sitting at the computer at Karen's, and he and McKenna had demonstrated their prowess at a little intelligence game, and they both did very well. One of the things I was able to do with Rhett was sit down and show him how to make movies on Windows Movie Maker. And in fact, he picked up everything so quickly, there isn't a whole lot left for him to know. He almost knows everything I know about making movies, and I'll fill in those gaps in the weeks to come. I'm sure he'll pick all the details up quickly. One of the things I do regret is that I was not able to see Rhett demonstrate his lines in the rehearsal. We got there just a short time, maybe about 2 minutes after his part in the play was over, and it was a technical rehearsal, so I was able to see a little bit of the production, but I wasn't able to see his lines, and I just missed it. We got in late from Landon's game, but the director assured us that a professional videographer would make a copy and that it would be available for purchase, and hopefully I'll be able to get to see his performance soon. Here he is in his Seussical shirt, and Seussical is the play, and I'm pretty impressed with it. A pretty ambitious undertaking for middle school. I was very impressed. I discovered that Rhett requested to be taken out of school so that he could see me off at the airport, and Marcy decided to pull all the kids out of school, so they'd only been there a few hours when she pulled them all out, and we all headed to the airport, and I was able to say goodbye to them there. He told me later that he looked for my plane with the binoculars out in the backyard, which was very touching. And after Greg and I got back late that night, we got a call, and it was Rhett, and he wanted to make sure everything was all right. Saying goodbye was very hard, and I will miss him.